Lady Justin, and I'm here with Dr. Rachel Geller, one of the world's foremost cat behaviorists and our monthly co-host with the most. It is springtime as we record this, and so on this episode, we're going to focus on some of the issues with our kitty cats and springtime because I used to have allergies. I don't know about you. And guess what? I used to be allergic to cats. Can you believe that? Someone like me, growing up as a child, allergic to cats. I didn't care. I still had my cat and itchy eyes. But in any case, Dr. Rachel Geller, how are you?
I'm well, happy to be here talking with you for our monthly catch up.
Yes, and I'm happy to have you. So let's dive right in, shall we? And so I thought I'd talk to you and we can discuss and catch up about these issues. And one of them is seasonal grooming tips for cats. Now, I'll start off by saying, spring cleaning of your house, it's a good thing. And of your office is a good thing. And of your cat is not such a good thing. Because I know people who do, they take the cat to the groomer, it gets shampooed, it gets sprayed with these perfumes and comes out smelling like, I don't know, blueberries or cookie or whatever, and all of that. And you know what? I know that's not such a good idea. Dr. Rachel, can you confirm?
Yes, I can confirm it's not a great idea. Cats are so reliant on scent. It's so important to a cat. So they very much want to have their smells, their scents remain the same. And not only, does it kind of upset a cat to no longer smell like she expects herself to smell, we don't really need to bring our cats to a groomer unless, she got sprayed by a skunk or something like that. But there's no reason. Cats clean themselves. They are fastidious creatures. They do an excellent job of keeping themselves pristine. But a danger you can have when you bring a cat to a groomer is not only does she become agitated and upset because she can't recognize her own scent and it smells very foreign to her. If you bring one cat to a groomer and one cat stays at home, the stay at home cat may not recognize the cat who's returning home from the groomer. The cat looks the same, but cats don't recognize each other by sight. They recognize each other by scent.
By
So
smell.
the home cat will think, she looks the same, but she does not smell the same. I think this might be an imposter. And this could cause aggression between your cats.
Yeah, and we did a whole episode on this, right, with a well-known expert in feline non-recognition syndrome or aggression or whatever, FRNA. And we talked at length about what it is, what to do about it, and all of that kind of stuff. So we don't need to go into it here. I just will, tell people that go check out January's episode, just a couple episodes back, for a real thorough, informative session on feline non-recognition aggression. It is what it sounds like. It's when a feline doesn't recognize you or them or another feline, whatever, and it's usually because of the smell. And what happens is an aggressive reaction. Not all cats, but most cats will have some level of that. It can get very severe so that some people will surrender their cats or abandon their cat. They'll get rid of the cat, when in reality, well, it can do something about it. But when it comes to our topic today, the answer to seasonal grooming tips for cats is don't. Unless your cat is filthy, is like rolled around in the mud like a pig, or has been sprayed by a skunk, or has had like some massive bout of diarrhea and its long hair fur is full of dookie and crusted up. Well, in that case, maybe you do want to take them to the groomer. But even then, maybe don't spray them with perfumes and have them come out smelling like God knows what, like strawberries.
Right, because it's very unnatural to a cat to come smelling like something artificial. And honestly, if your cat does have diarrhea or something like that, I tell my clients to bring your cat to the veterinarian. The vet tech can do a cleanup, and veterinarians know, how to handle cats, and they also know not to put a lot of foreign smells on a cat for that very reason. So typically, as you said, no reason to bring your cat to a groomer for regular cleaning. If something particular happened, sprayed by a skunk, got into something, it might be a health reason to have a really good cleaning. I really would suggest to people to bring your cat to your veterinarian. Almost all veterinarians have vet techs on staff or vet assistants on staff who can do this type of cleaning. And typically, these people are really very well trained in, handling cats, cat handling skills, but also what and what not to use in terms of products.
Yeah. So that's the moral of the story.
Yeah,
There is there is no need for you to once a year or once a season or whatever bathe your cat. There is only one valid reason for bathing a cat. It's not a dog. It doesn't need a bath because it cleans itself. And the saliva of a cat has antiseptic properties to it. So it's not a filthy, germ-ridden mouth. It's a mouth that is antiseptic. So
yes, yes,
you have nothing to worry about if the cat is grooming itself and licking itself and all of that. If it's not doing that, let's say it's very elderly or has a health issue or whatever, well, that's not the topic of today's conversation.
right.
Today, we're
That's
just talking about the
important.
seasonal grooming.
Yes,
If that's the case, take your cat to the vet, figure out
definitely.
what's wrong with it.
Yes.
So,
When cats stop grooming themselves and when cats stop cleaning themselves, that's usually a red flag that something's wrong. So, yes, not today's topic. We're
yep.
talking about allergies and seasons, but just to put it out there, if somebody's listening, they think,
Yeah.
well, I have to give my cat a bath because she doesn't clean herself. Then that means take your cat to the veterinarian.
Yeah, and that's not a behavioral problem.
It is not.
That's
That's
not a
only a
question for
medical.
us. That is a
Yes,
question for your
your
vet that
vet.
knows your cat and
Yes,
can diagnose a medical or veterinary problem,
yes,
because that can be serious. It
yeah,
usually is,
yeah,
because cats are so fastidious, as you say,
yeah.
cleaning themselves. So enough about the seasonal grooming. Let's talk about so my cats have I know a bad habit because I know we've talked about it a lot of times that cats can um, be indoors and be perfectly happy as long as they have affection, stimulation, play, as long as their needs are met. They don't need to go outside. Well, my cats over the years have developed the habit of loving a little excursion in the garden. Always supervise. I don't let them out. There's no cat door or any flap or whatever. We go out together. For a brief time, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, and they wander around. They eat some grass. They usually come in to puke it on a piece of carpet as opposed to lino or whatever. But sometimes, I'm proud of them and they'll do it outside. But they cleanse themselves that way. But I know they don't need that. That's not a need for cats to go out. But there is something that I've seen, mainly on social media. I don't think I've ever really seen it like in the neighborhood, but I've seen it on social media, which is a cat uh, on a leash walking around like a dog. And I thought, well, that's cute. That's really cute. That's cool. So how about that? That sort of safe outdoor excursions and leash training for cats. What do you think about that, Dr. Rachel?
Okay, so first I'm going to start off with an overarching statement and then I'm going to answer that question. Because as you know, I'm a huge advocate for keeping your cats indoors. Um, they live longer, and again, you supervise your cats, you're with them. So I'm talking about people who just open up the door, let their cats out. I'm really a huge advocate for keeping your cats indoors in terms of life expectancy, in terms of safety, and also in terms of behavior. So many cats, once they go outside, they will start standing at your door and meowing constantly. And some cats will really meow constantly. They'll paw at the door. They always want to get back out. And it's not because they love the outdoors. It's because you've just expanded their territory, and cats are very, very highly territorial creatures. So once they realize that there's other territory that they are exposed to outside, they have a very strong need, not all cats, but many cats, have a very strong need to keep going out there to monitor their territory, assess the dangers, scent deposit, let other cats and other opponents know that they're there to stand their ground. They always want to monitor that territory and send signals to other animals, particularly cats, but it can be other animals as well, that they're there to hold their ground. They're there to defend their territory. This is my territory. So some cats, once you let them out, you just open up a whole box of unintended cat behavior problems. So, okay, now that's my disclaimer. Now, to answer your question about the leash, I mean, many people do harness train or leash train their cats. I prefer a harness to a leash because far too many cats get out of that leash with the collar. I mean, cats have movable collarbones so that it's very easy for them to wriggle out of something, especially if they see something or get reactive to something, or they see something that could be prey and they take off, they run, and many cats get lost that way. So if you really insist that you need to do this, a harness is better than a leash. You really want something that goes over the cat's entire body. Now, most cats, you're not just going to put a harness on, bring them outside, and they're going to gleefully embrace the experience. Cats need to get used to the idea of wearing a harness. So if you do want to do this, I recommend starting with the cat indoors, wearing the harness and getting used to the idea. So maybe at first you just put the harness on the cat and then take it off of like shortly thereafter, maybe just a minute, and then work up to longer periods of time with the cat wearing the harness, because most cats don't like to be in things. They don't like to be constricted. So it's not like you'll slap on a harness and it's all going to work out. You really want to gently get your cat used to wearing the harness. So start off with just a couple of minutes, then work up to 5 minutes, then work up to 10 minutes, then work up to attaching the leash to the harness and just walking around your own home. So really you want to kind of go step by step, and not until you see that the cat is accepting of the harness, isn't trying to bolt, isn't trying to get out of it, then you could try an outdoor excursion.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, gradual is like what we talk about every time with
Yes,
anything from cats, whether it's
anything.
feeding or introducing new cats, or so gradual is like a key for them. So that's really good to know. I'm not saying I'm going to try it. I'm just saying that it's something I've seen and I thought, oh, that's cool, that's cute. Cat walking around with his owner on a leash, but I've never seen it in person. In the UK, it's a lot more common for cats to go in and out, to have a cat flap on the door, and the cats can liberally go in and out, or for the owner to let it out. So it's actually more unusual, like me, to have indoor cats in this country. So it's a cultural thing here, but in general, aside from that, it's much healthier for the cats to stay in. It's
Yes.
much better for their health, for their longevity, their well-being, etc.
Yes.
So that's the moral of the story with cats inside and out. So if you want to leash train your cat, you can try, but do it gradually, do it slowly, do it step by step. It's that's
Yes. I mean, you
that's
might
all you
have
need to
a
know.
cat who completely freaks out when you put that on. So you don't want that to happen when you're outdoors with your cat. So,
Yeah, and
and
yeah.
as you correctly pointed out, in general, when it comes to cat, think incremental, gradual, slowly. Cats don't like to go from 0 to 60.
Nor do I. But so speaking of gradual and changes and all that, the weather here has started to dip the toe in the water for getting warmer. I say that because last week we had some sunshine, some warmer weather. We could go outside for walks, and then it went back to being pretty dreary and cold again. So it's just dipping its water for the spring season. So, what about cat behavior changes in warmer weather? Are there any? Can you help us understand any behavior changes that happen as a result of warmer weather?
I mean, some cats you'll see slight behavior changes, especially if you have indoor cats. So your cat who was cuddling up in the cat bed and sleeping on the radiator all winter long, you may now see them sprawling out on your tile floor or your, wood floor, something that's cooler, that's, flat and cool. So the main thing that I noticed with indoor cats is their napping spots seem to change. And if you live in a place where you have a home where you have a lot of windows, or maybe there's access to a nice outside view, they're going to become more interested in looking out the windows to see the birds and things, landing and crawling around in the trees. So they might become in the warmer months more interested in enjoying a view out of the window. So I always say to people, if you have a cat tree, put it next to a window, because that will encourage the cat to, get some stimulation, get some enjoyment watching, the birds and the various maybe squirrels and things that are start coming out in terms of the warmer weather. So napping spots, interest in kind of what's going on around them. There's usually more light, so you may find your cat, because you're more energetic and doing more in the evenings because it's lighter longer,
Mhm.
and our cats do follow our patterns. So you might notice your cat being a little more energetic and playful longer into the evening as well.
So yeah, that's good to know. And if it gets too hot, they'll probably end up getting a bit more lazy and just napping more, just trying to chill out more, but like taking a siesta, in the warmer climates. But yeah, so I think, yeah, I do notice that my cats will be extending their hours like me.
Yes.
Um, and I think during the warm days that we had, they did exactly what you said. They moved around. But now that it's cold again, they're back near the radiator. In fact, I turned the heat down and then I had to turn it right back up. But that's the joys of living in this country, which I live in the UK. So anyway, that's that. Now, when it comes to the springtime that we're entering into, one thing is plants that we have outside. Now, we did already quite a few episodes over the years regarding plants, and some plants that are safe, some plants that are not safe, this and that and the other thing. So I don't know that we need to rehash all of that. Just, maybe invite people to check out last year's springtime episode or something where we talk a lot about that. But in but let's talk about introducing a new plant into your home while ensuring they are safe for cats. Because I get regular, maybe, probably at least 5, 6 times a year, I attend these, events with the dinners. And so I usually get a plant out of it. I bring home. But I don't have a green thumb, and I'm not a huge fan of having to take care of a plant. So it's just not something I really enjoy that much. So I don't introduce that many new plants in my house, but I do, stick them on the kitchen windowsill. And I know some of them are not good for cats, but mine tend to leave those alone. Except when I'm late and I wake up late, and Emily doesn't do this, but Charlotte is hungry. She'll like jump up on the counter and start pestering some of those plants. And I don't know. I mean, I know I'm reading into it a little bit, but it seems like she's like, you don't want me to eat this thing. I know it's poisonous, so you better feed me. It's like she's threatening to hurt herself. I mean, it's just so fun. And she never does that except on those occasions. But that's my Charlotte. She's a bit funny. But do you have any tips for introducing a new plant, making sure it's safe?
Yeah, there's all kinds of websites that will list plants that are toxic to cats. You can just do a simple Google search,
Mm.
plants that are toxic to cats, and it'll give you a big list. So my recommendation in general is, just do a little search and check it out. But having said that, even plants that are deemed quote unquote safe for cats can be a problem if the cat eats a leaf or something thorny or something that just disagrees with their stomach. So many cats, even if the plant is safe, they may vomit after eating it because it does not agree with their digestive system. But I've had cats in the past. I mean, I'm at the point now where I don't have any plants in my house because I've had too many negative experiences and trips to the ER. So I had one cat this was probably 10 years ago, who was chewing on a leaf on a plant that was safe, and she ate the leaf, and it ended up getting stuck in her intestine, and she stopped eating. And like 2 days later, I was like thinking, she doesn't seem to be eating as much, and she seems a little lethargic. Brought her, and then she started getting really sick. Brought her to the ER. A quick X-ray revealed that there was a big leaf lodged in her intestine, and it was inflamed all the way around. So it ended up being a very expensive visit to the emergency veterinarian. So think about your particular cat. So you were saying, Justin, you have the type of cats who really don't get into plants. The cats I have right now, they couldn't care less. Somebody sends me flowers, I put them somewhere, they're not interested. So think about your cats. Also, depending on how high your particular cats can jump. I have one cat right now who's very chubby. She's older, she has arthritis, she's not doing any jumping. So sometimes you can solve the problem by having the plant elevated so the cat can't get to it. But if you have a good jumper, you might be surprised how high a cat can jump if she really wants to get to something, or she's figured out a way to jump on some interim items that are of a achievable height, and then get to the thing that she's looking to check out. So think about location where you're going to have this plant, have it in a place where your cats can't get to it, and think about your individual cat. Some cats will eat, anything and everything. They want to taste it, they want to check it out. My two cats are so particular, they don't want any human food, they don't want any treats, they just only want their basic cat food. So in that way, that's kind of lucky. But some cats, you can bring home anything new, and their MO is to go ahead and sniff and maybe taste something. So they're all different, but in general, consult your veterinarian, do a Google search, look at a reputable website like the ASPCA or Animal Rescue League type websites. And those are websites you can trust that the information is indeed factual. Do a little search, do your research, maybe check with your vet, and then even going beyond that, make sure the plant is completely inaccessible to your cat.
Yeah, because the key there is that even if it's a safe plant for cats, it can still pose a hazard. It's because if it eats it, because these are not fully digestible fibers, and they can get lodged. They could pass through. I mean, Emily loves roses. I don't know what it is about roses, but whenever I've had roses, she has loved them, like to nibble on them like a snack. And luckily, knock on wood, she's never had a problem. But I don't bring so many roses in now because now she's a bit older, and I don't want her to accidentally have a problem with the roses.
Right.
So, and Charlotte doesn't care.
Yeah.
So there's no plant that she's particularly interested in. So I think it's something to be careful of, even when a plant is safe for animals. Now that is different than cat grass, right? So cat grass is something that they can eat. It helps them cleanse and whatever. And so we're not talking about cat grass, right? That's different plant. Right. That's for cats.
That's for cats. So cat grass, catnip, silvervine, those are examples of plants that are completely fine for your cat to enjoy.
Yeah, and those are for cats. So go ahead with those. Don't worry about those. The ones you should worry about are the big one for me is the lily. That is that is the arsenic. That is like the death for cats. Yes. You want to be very careful about, even if you have your lily on the top shelf, completely inaccessible to the cat. That little bit of pollen that falls down on your coat or on your trousers or your skirt or your pants or your shoe or whatever gets on the cat's tail, whatever. The cat cleans itself and licks it up and very quickly develops kidney failure, or you just want to avoid the lily. If you have a cat, I like lilies, they're pretty, but when you have a cat, my advice is just don't have them in the house. Preferably don't have them in your garden. Yeah. Just don't have them anywhere where the cat can get to it. because
Yes.
I've just seen it. With someone's cat that I know years ago now, but where it ended up dying, and it's just don't do
Highly
the
toxic.
lily.
Yes, highly toxic. And I like that you pointed out that, some plants do produce a lot of pollen. And so we're, here we are thinking about making sure the cat can't get to the plant. But if the pollen drops on the floor and the cat walks on that pollen or it gets on the fur, as we started off this conversation, cats groom themselves. So those types of plants can be hazardous. And yes, lilies are very, very, very toxic to cats.
Yeah, so that's the one I'd point out every single time because
Yeah,
people forget, and and
yeah,
lily, and they are pretty and they smell good, so people love them, but have them somewhere where you don't have cats.
yes.
Don't have, if you have cats, just don't have the lily. Anyway, that's enough about the morbid subject of lilies. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about is how to create a cat friendly garden. Now, we just talked about cats don't need that. They don't need to go out. They're perfectly safe and happy in the house, indoors. They need their stimulation, their play, their affection, their attention, but they don't need to go out. But,
No.
again, another thing I've seen online a lot, and it looks cool, it looks cute. It's just interesting. Are these cat friendly gardens? I've seen some where they have this special kind of fencing all around. I've seen these catios, these cat patios and that kind of stuff. So I don't have one. Like that's so I take them out and supervise them and all that. It's partly a bad habit I got my uncle to blame for because when he was visiting at one point, he like literally it's like he was training them. He was encouraging them to do that. And now when he calls and he eggs them on outside, Emily, outside. I mean, it's like he's giving them the command to do that. But it's common in this country, so I have them on my outdoors. I have door curtains, so most of the time the cat can't even see the door. It doesn't know there's a door there. But anyway, so let's say we want to go ahead and do that. Do you have any notions on how to create a cat friendly garden? I mean, aside from leaving out the poisonous plants.
Well, a lot of people do like the idea of a catio because a lot of humans like, have a safe screened area to sit outside, and they like the cats to join them, or they want the cats to have the same. So as we've said a million times, cats do not need sunshine. They don't need to be outside. Domesticated cats do not have that need at all. As long as you keep your cat happy and stimulated indoors, no reason to go outside. But that's why they make chocolate and vanilla. So some people really like the idea of a catio. So it's very, very important, with that screening, that this, you really buy screens that can endure, and withstand a cat maybe pulling on them, or if a cat sees something enticing and wants to chase, that screen can withstand the force of a
Yeah.
cat trying to
And that's
get.
a good point because I remember when I was growing up in my house, when I was growing up, we had the windows had these little built in. It was an older house, and I grew up in Michigan, in the Detroit area in Michigan, in the suburbs of Detroit, Huntington Woods, if anyone's listening who's been there. And it was an older house. I think it was built in the 20s, something like that. Lovely house. And it had these built in like screens you could pull down, bug screens, keep the bugs out.
Yeah,
Well, my cats, I mean, the one when I grew up, Iggy, her name was, well, that those screens were useless because she just very, very easily and without any problems, you know, pulled or pushed. I didn't see her do it, so I don't know how she did it, but she just, it got out of its track, and the gap was there, and out she went. So those
yeah,
screens were useless to keep
yeah.
Iggy in. So I think that's a very good point. You need to
You
choose
really need
your
something heavy
mesh
duty. Yes,
wisely.
yes, something that's heavy duty, something that's really secure, and something that, if you're putting a patio on the ground outside, some type of a catio enclosure, you want to go like really down into that ground, like 5 or 6 feet down, because cats can really get very strong when they're afraid and they get reactive, and they're gonna, if there's something they want to get to, they're gonna keep trying. And also bigger opponents and predators can get in. So you really want to make sure that that your screen material is thick. It can withstand pressure, both pushing and pulling. But a catio is a nice, safe way if you really insist on that your cat needs fresh air, and it also prevents bugs and insects from getting to the cat. We don't want our cats to become flea infested or get bitten by a mosquito or things like that, which can happen, or bitten by a bee, which can happen. So a catio, the number one thing is a very, very safe and secure screen and enclosure. So, and as far as a garden goes, again, just make sure you have non-toxic plants for cats, in that garden. And some cats like kind of like things to do in there. So some people put in like little toys and games for the cat to play with. And if you can, again, putting some type of enclosure around that garden is a good idea.
Yeah, the enclosure is good. And I saw one a show about a person in Eastern Europe, actually, because I don't think it would be legal in this country, who had a different kind of cat. I think it was a bobcat, or
Oh,
so
okay.
it was some kind of wild cat. It was cute. It behaved mostly like a domesticated animal, but in the garden, he was explaining that he was required to put in this special fencing because of the nature of the animal. It's not
Yeah.
an ordinary pet, so he put it in, and it was an electrified fence. So an electric fence. Now I was just joking around with saying, "Oh, I could use that here, an electric fence." So if a crook wants to come in, it gets a good zap, and or if the birds land on it, that's it. You got fried pigeon. So so that'd be funny. I wouldn't probably not recommend that
No, no,
for your catio because
no.
again, unless you have a small lion or a bobcat, unless you have an actual wild animal, I wouldn't recommend that for your ordinary domesticated cat. And then there's the issue of the height of the
Yeah,
fencing. So if it's a fully enclosed catio, then it's as high as you need it to be, so
yes,
you can walk in there. But then if it's not fully enclosed, I don't think the height really matters that much because of the simple reason that the cat can climb to
yes.
great heights. So it's not going to help much. It needs to be high enough to maybe uh, dissuade the cat, or maybe not draw the attention that it is escapable. Maybe they won't notice, but don't expect something that's 6 or 8 or 10 feet high to absolutely keep the cat contained, because
No,
it won't.
cats can jump up to 5 times their own height. So think about how high that is. So yes, I mean, when I'm thinking of like a catio or a garden, I'm thinking of something fully enclosed.
Fully enclosed,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. But if you're thinking of like some type of a fencing, you know, it would have to be very, very tall, and you may want to consider a material that's slick or sticky. And wood, they can get their claws in there and they can get themselves up very easily. So if you're thinking of something fenced in rather than a total enclosure, I mean, I don't love the idea, but if that's something that you're really set on, I wouldn't use wood or any material that a cat can sink her claws into. You'd want something that is slick or sticky.
Yeah, slick or sticky,
Slick,
yeah, so
yeah,
that they can't climb it and
exactly.
get out, because that'll be very easy for most cats.
And easy
But,
for the
unless they're very
insects too.
elderly.
Yeah. Yes.
So there you go. So that's how to create a cat friendly garden or catio or whatever. It's a cute idea if you like it. Just make sure you do it safely so that we
Yes.
protect our cats and give them a nice, happy, long life. So, is there anything else that you would want to say, or
I would
ask, or
advise,
advise us on for this springtime?
enjoy the weather. If you have windows in your house, I advocate the idea of window locks that prevent the windows from opening more than 2 to 3 inches. I have them on every window in my home. So again, cats have movable collarbones. So anything they can get their head through, they can get their bodies through. So think in terms of safety. We can open our windows, we can enjoy the fresh air, but we want our cats to be safe too. So having something that keeps the windows from opening more than 2 or 3 inches is a very good idea. Make sure your screens are secure, because if a cat pushes against the screen, they're very easily dislodged. Make sure there's no holes in there, because once a hole gets started, they can keep pawing at it and make that hole big enough to get out. So, enjoy the warm weather. I don't want to sound like Debbie Downer, but take basic steps to keep your cat safe. And these are things you only have to do once. Once you install the window locks, you're all set. Once you use a good, tough screen, you're all set. So just take, sort of basic safety precautions into the idea of making your home safe for your cat. And it's really no different than what we would do for a baby or a toddler, or, you know, anything that we're caring for that's young. So they're not difficult things to do, and your cat will be safer and happier because of it.
Yeah, and in my house, I have these kind of windows that open, but only at the very top, and they open to the outside. So my cats are, I mean, my two, Emily and Charlotte, just they're not, they either haven't noticed, or they don't go out those windows. They
Yeah.
never have even tried. It's
Yeah.
like outside their reality. They could. It is within their capability to leap up there, perch, and then jump out the other side, but they've just never done it. So
Yeah.
I think I'm safe with that.
I think
My only concern would be in the event that the cat decides they need to get out because maybe they're sick, or whatever reason is, they're scared or something, then they could theoretically do that.
and this is, God forbid this never happens to you or anybody listening, but if there ever was a fire, something like that, cats will save themselves. They'll figure it out. They'll get out. And actually, you want that to happen, because we want the cats to save themselves.
Mhm.
And typically, they don't go too far away if it's something like really drastic like that happens. But for most cats, the basic safety measures are fine. My two cats have never been out, so they have no interest in the door. It doesn't mean anything to them. So, it all depends on your individual cat. Some are
Yeah,
so
yeah.
curious. I mean, I had a cat once who was so curious, if I opened the door of the refrigerator, he would jump into the refrigerator. Well, clearly he doesn't want to be stuck in the fridge. He's not going in there because he loves the idea.
Yeah.
He just is curious, and he looks at it as more territory, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, he's like, "What's in there?" Like, I
Yeah,
have some drawers
yeah,
and some, cabinet that
yeah.
are like
Yeah,
that.
this looks
I
like
open it, and the cat wants to see what's in there.
yeah.
She's not gonna stay in there. She just kinda
No,
wants to
no,
check it
no.
out real quickly,
Exactly.
and then that's it. And then, it's just funny 'cause the contents don't change, but she still wants to take a look every time. It's just it's the same as it always was. There's nothing in there for you, but, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's it then. So, I wish you a happy springtime. I know it's coming up, so happy St. Patrick's Day if you do anything for
Yeah.
that. So,
I might
um,
drink some green beer or something.
yeah, something like that. Something really easy. So, thank you very much. Next month, we'll reconvene. It's
Yeah.
April. We might have a guest in April because there is someone who expressed interest, but it'll be a surprise guest because I'm not totally sure. I think it's been confirmed, but we'll see for our show in April, which will be the second Friday of the month of April. So, I will be a year older because that's my birthday month,
Oh,
the beginning of the month. Uh, so,
happy birthday.
oh well, thank you very much.
Wishing
Um,
you good health, happiness, and lots of purrs.
and lots of purrs. Well, thank you very much. So I'll sign off by saying it's Cat Lady Justin. I'm here with Dr. Rachel Geller. This is the Kitty Boss, where we pick, pamper, and protect your practically perfect pussycat for a lifetime of unconditional love. We'll see you real soon. So that's it. I've stopped the recording.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It says it's being uploaded.